Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Aim in Practice. I'm your host, Jess Reynolds. And today we are stepping into the world of massage therapy and wellness education with a very special focus on the evolution of continuing education and how it shapes our practices. Joining us today are the innovators from the Canadian Massage Conference and Massage Therapy Media who have transformed the landscape of massage therapy education through their truly dynamic conferences and educational platforms. Now, these folks have not only adapted to changing educational requirements, but have also truly pioneered ways to make learning interactive and engaging, proving that continuing education can indeed be both informative and enjoyable. We're diving deep into the journey that led them to create such impactful events, the challenges that they've overcome along the way, and their vision for future professional development in massage therapy. From shifting to online platforms during the pandemic to planning live, vibrant conferences that connect therapists globally, they truly are reshaping what it means to grow as a practitioner. So whether you're a massage therapist yourself or just fascinated by the world of professional growth and development, you're in for a treat with this chit chat. So let's jump in. Well, welcome everyone. This is going to be a fun chat. I'm looking forward to seeing where we go with it. And the first thing I want to say is I was thinking about the conference that you guys are putting on here in Calgary and another one in Ontario later in the fall. I was thinking about last falls and just the amount of time and energy that went into it as I was there, kind of seeing all the things that were going on. It completely blew my mind. Like I've done little workshops here and they're organized, like 2 or 3 people coming in. And that's hard. So I couldn't imagine doing what all you guys are doing. And on top of that, all of the other stuff that Massage Therapy Media and the Canadian Massage Conference do for the massage world. Like I want to say thank you. Like you guys do so much amazing stuff for this community. So I want to start by just saying thanks, and you do good stuff. And I was hoping maybe we could start by exploring the genesis of what started this idea of Massage Therapy Media, the Canadian Massage Conference, like all of this. What's the origin story beside why you decided to take on such a massive task?
Who's going to handle that? Rock, paper, scissors?
I think Scott should give us the go, because he is the him and Monica and their 2 partners before were the Canadian Massage Conference people. So, and we just jumped in on the last leg here. So, Scotty, go for it.
Well, it doesn't seem that long, but this year will be, I think, 17 years, and it's like it's hard to believe that we've been involved in running conferences that long. And it didn't start out like we actually were asked to come in and help out and take over the conference. Initially it was a different conference, and then we ended up just taking it over. We were asked if we could take it over after the first year, and we've run it in Canada, the United States, multiple locations in Canada, the United States, and then COVID happened. All that happened. But just before that, probably a couple of years before that, Mark and Amanda came to the conference. I think 2019, our last in-person conference, Mark came and taught at that conference. Mm-hmm. And just shortly after that, our college kind of changed our CE reporting. So we went from a CE based recording system to a competency-based system. And I see this guy who taught for us at the conference, this Mark guy, and he's throwing all these courses out, running all these courses. I said, who's he running all these courses for? Like, everybody thinks they don't need CEs anymore. I got to get on the phone. I got to talk to this guy. So we started talking, and then they ended up coming to meet with us in Hamilton, and we did a podcast, our first podcast with them then.
Yeah.
And it was, we got along great, and then COVID happened, and we had to take this whole conference online. And I reached out to Mark and Amanda and say, listen, would you be interested in helping Monica and I? This wasn't what we were doing. We were running an in-person conference, not an online conference. So they came on, and they can fill all the other blanks in, but the rest is really history. So apparently we got along well enough to keep on working, and now it's like 2024, and we've got lots in store. There's lots of stuff coming up. So, and we just all love continuing education, and it's been fun working with these guys for sure. So that's it.
How did that transition go? I mean, I want to ask lots of questions about that, but my first curiosity is we're out here in old Alberta where continuing education is still definitely a thing. How did that transition go for all of you out east when it went more to a competency-based system?
Can I answer that one?
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
So I remember the day so clearly. Actually, Mark was in the office. I was at home taking care of babies. And there was an email sent out from our college saying, the CE reporting cycle is no longer. And it was literally, I think, 3 to 4 weeks before it was going to be just gone.
Yeah.
So in that moment, my heart just sank because, as Scott just said, we all love continuing education. And Mark and I had really based our entire business model on the fact that people need this. People need to take courses. So we had at the time probably almost 20 courses. We're now well over 20 courses on our regular course calendar here at Conrad Institute. So we were both not really practicing. We were very part-time by then, and really our main focus was our continuing education, and we were loving it. So my heart sank, and this part is foggy. I don't remember if he called me or I called him, but we got on the phone, and both of us just, lots of profanity. Like, what are we going to do? And we kind of took turns calming each other down. And the main thing was, he said to me, "Do you want to throw in the towel?" And I said, "I really don't. Do you want to throw in the towel?" And he said, "I really don't." We had built something just so cool that we really love doing. And he said, "Well, that means we've got to do like a 180. We've got to change up our marketing strategy and figure out how we can let people know that continuing ed is still important. It's still going to improve your practice. And this way, with the competency-based program, you can actually take courses that match with your style as a therapist. You take courses that make sense for your practice and the clients and patients that you're seeing. So this could actually be a positive. So Scott's right. We went hard on marketing, and that is actually where Two Massage Therapists and a Microphone was born. Mark came to me and said, "Let's start a podcast. The more people have us in their ears and they can hear us, they might start to see what we do, who we are, and it could continue to build our business." I didn't know what a podcast was back then in 2018, but here we are, 6 years later, 7 years later, I don't even know, can't count anymore. But we're doing it, and it really did work. People started connecting with us and contacting us from other provinces, even some out of country, and saying, "I love your podcast and I want to take courses from you." And so we started getting people sign up for our courses based on listening to us. So yeah, that transition was kind of interesting. And what I'll let Mark speak on that too, but what we did notice is exactly what we started our marketing plan with is we started seeing people come into the courses who really wanted to be here. It made teaching actually just more pleasant. They weren't here to get 10 credits. They were here because they wanted to learn cupping. They were here because they wanted to learn joint mobilizations. It was not about credits anymore. And I actually think it made teaching, I mean, you can speak on that. You teach most of the courses.
It did make teaching a little bit more enjoyable. I'll set the stage for you really quick, right? So this is going back to 2018. The College of Massage Therapists of Ontario is revamping their quality assurance program. They made it known from the previous year that that's what they were going to be doing. They didn't make it known to the extent of how they're going to do it. So I'm going to all of these focus group meetings. I want to know what's going to happen with continuing education. They say nothing about continuing education, the continuing education cycle. Then out of nowhere at the beginning of June, they send out an email saying that the 30 credit cycle and the 3 years that you have to do, that is completely gone. That is, we're getting rid of that as of January 1st, July 1st. Yeah. And we're like, oh my God, Amanda and I just got this office space.
We did, yeah.
We just got the office space in January this year, that year. And we're like, they just kicked out our business model right from underneath our feet. And like we were saying before, it was really easy to get people to take a course because one, they need credits. And then we had a great, email list. So really all of our marketing was just email marketing, and we get a nice crowd of people here. But then it comes to this, and it's like, well, everyone that we're emailing doesn't think they need classes anymore. They don't even know what the quality assurance program is changing to, because the college didn't let us know what was happening with that
until the fall.
Right. So everyone's, calling, I need a refund. I want a refund. People that had classes booked into like the end of the year.
Yep.
So it was a really weird time for us. And that's when we came up with the podcast. And I remember this vividly when Scott's talking about the idea of we were just going hard with the marketing. In this phone call, I don't know if you remember this, you guys were kind of laughing. You're like, ha, does this guy not recognize that CEs look like they're dead meat for a little bit? And he's pouring it on thick. And I'm like, because we don't have a choice. Like, my man and I decided, like, this is something we're going to do. And the thing that made us realize this is what we're going to do, it's going to sound hokey. It was our mission statement. It was our Con Ed Institute mission statement. I read it over and over, and I'd read it to Amanda, and she'd read it over and over. And that's when we decided, nope, this is what we do, and we're going to find a way to make it work. And we rolled the dice on that.
I dig it big time. I mean, that whole story you just laid out, I get it. Like that's a big part of I've transitioned recently, but a big part of what my company started with is selling credits. It drove me nuts, this whole idea of just selling credits. It didn't feel good. And quite frankly, the quality of individual that shows up when they're just buying credits, they're not buying in education, or they're not participating in an experience, as you said, makes a huge difference on the overall experience. So
Absolutely.
The fact that in the end, it really sounds like it benefited the people participating as much as it did you in the end. But it sounds like a hell of a rocky road getting there. Like, geez, the stress.
It did benefit all of us, because it forced us to stay on a straight path.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Before we got this office space and before all that stuff happened with the quality assurance program changes, I was living easy street. I was developing courses. I was only working weekends, teaching weekends. I was really Monday to Friday off. I was living easy street.
He would literally send me photos of himself by our pool on a Tuesday afternoon while I was treating patients.
Right, and that happened for a good couple of years. And I'm really thankful for how that ended up happening, because that really just lit the fire. And I need a fire, or I'll get lazy, because my goal in life is just to be as lazy as possible. And so I was almost at that point, and this thing just lit it up in me to do something different.
Yeah.
So you kind of get this news, the rug is pulled up from under you, a bit of a scramble, bit of a panic, maintain that mission, but kind of shift the direction of the ship, it sounds like. And then from there, it went more into doing, I guess, was it from that point where you started to shift more into conferences, or was there a period with the Con Ed Institute where you were still kind of playing the same game, and then maybe a couple of years later you shifted towards conferences? How did that transition work?
It was, as Scott said, that was what made him take notice of us, because he thought we had lost our marbles, understandably, because credits were dead. So what are we doing? So that made them take notice of us. And as he said, then we were sort of invited to teach. Well, Mark was invited to teach. I came and I TA'd, and, then we recorded a podcast with him and Monica to help them promote the conference. And after just being around each other so often, Scott and Monica had, as Mark said, two other partners before who had eventually bowed out, and they were starting to realize, like, I think they needed a little more help. And once COVID hit and they needed to move online, well, Con Ed Institute was at the same time, shifting some of our courses online, because otherwise we were just twiddling our thumbs. Everyone was locked down. We wanted a way to be able to still provide value. So we were even offering certain things for free.
And especially Ontario. Ontario was locked down like crazy.
Yes.
We were watching everyone else being able to do stuff and live their lives. And we were all like crazy locked down.
So the first conference that we kind of teamed up with Monica and Scott was 2020. Yep. We helped them run a virtual conference, and we just couldn't believe we actually pulled it off. And then in 2021, the intent was to go back in person, and things just weren't really fully opened up yet. It looked like it wasn't going to happen.
Really unpredictable.
Yeah, it was really unpredictable. So we decided to run a little bit differently. We, I say we, but really I give the credit to Mark and Scott and some of Scott's family members. They created a studio in Carden Rehab, which is always one of our major sponsors at our events. And they let us use their space, and they created a studio, and we actually did a live stream conference. So the educators were coming into the studio and teaching their class in front of all of our lights and cameras, and we were streaming it through our event platform. And we did another full online conference, but nothing pre-recorded. It was all live, which was super cool, a lot of work. And it was after that conference that Monica and Scott said to us, we need to do more together. Like, this was kind of incredible, and we need to do more together. And then this lunatic over here decides, let's do all the things.
Do you remember the conversation that we had after the conference, guys? When
I do.
We did this at Carden Rehab, their manufacturer of rehabilitation equipment, and they've got a great classroom space, and that's where we set up shop. And then after that, the gentleman who owns Carden, because he's got all these classroom spaces, he's like, why don't you guys come back here and do something like this maybe once a month? And we were kicking around the idea like, this is cool, yeah, we like this, and it's just going to allow us to get better at doing this thing the more we do it. And then it kind of hit us like, wait just a second. Why are we going all the way there, setting all this stuff once a month, renting all this stuff just to make, why don't we just buy all this stuff and just do it in-house? And that was just kind of the beginnings of the talks of what we're going to do with massage therapy media. So indirectly, I got to thank Carden for these ideas, because the ideas spawn from all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the relationship between Massage Therapy Media and the Canadian Massage Conference? Because it sounds like there's a fair bit of overlap. I mean, what's the connection there?
Well, Massage Therapy Media is our media company. That's really our top level company. It's the one that's managing what we're doing online and in person. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a media company, and part of that media company is running conferences, because we're all big believers in still doing live education. It's such a great way to meet people. It's such a great way to meet people with new products and services in massage. So it just made sense. So you'd put at the top of our pyramid would be Massage Therapy Media, and then underneath that would be our conference business and other business that we're doing. So
yeah, I like it. Like the four of us came together from getting involved with the conference that Scott and Monica have been doing for a very long time. Yep. And then in this talks of all of this new exciting thing we're doing, we're talking about, okay, well, we want to create this media company, as Scott was saying, that really does a lot of stuff. We want a media company that has a magazine. We want a media company that's a digital resource. We want a media company that's going to help other people do digital creative development and to help develop their courses and showcase their stuff and put it in front of a different audience. And then we also obviously have this big chunk, which is the conferences. But as we're all talking about this, I'm watching Scott's face light up, because Scott's like, guys, I had this idea years and years and years ago.
It was literally meant to be. The minute Mark said Massage Therapy Media, Scott was like, yeah.
It's like he had this vision years ago, and I guess just never for whatever reason fully brought it to life.
He hadn't met you yet.
Well, I mean,
that's it.
I don't.
That's
it. That's highly debatable. But
it's like people that even that we all have somewhat different ideas, but the big thing that brings us together are these guys are real workers. They're innovators, but as we all know, Jess, to be successful, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that goes into it, and there's a lot of conversation and a lot of trial, and I wouldn't say failure, but sometimes there's things that don't work out perfectly, but those things just make you better. So we're excited where we are right now. We just put out a new magazine, and our editor's sitting here with Mark there. So the magazine looks beautiful. Some really great content. I think every month we're getting into, or every quarter we're getting into something new, and we're very just getting back to the conference piece again. We're so excited to do in-person conferences again. We're so excited by that opportunity. And what Amanda and Mark brought too is that, Monica and I, we had operated in like pretty much we had been in the States, but pretty much in Canada operated in from our Burlington or maybe Niagara Falls location. And now we took it this year, of course, this last year to Atlantic Canada. We got to go to Halifax. This year we're going to Calgary, and that is super exciting. Actually, this is called the Canadian Massage Conference. We really haven't tripped it around Canada, and now we're doing that. So that's
so
really,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really appreciated the wide variety of different workshops and courses that you guys had in the fall of last year. And I'm curious, with the conference that you've got planned here in Calgary, what's sort of the roster? What could people expect as far as different courses, classes, workshops, things like that?
Oh, it's so exciting. So as you saw, because you've got to experience one of our in-person shows. And I mean, we have to thank you because you brought something new. We had never had you as a presenter before. So that's the other thing is we love bringing in new faces and new people that even if they aren't necessarily new, but like Mark said, bringing them in front of an audience that they hadn't been in front of before. So for Calgary, we're doing a similar thing as we did in the Ontario conference where we're having Free Friday, which is a combination of lectures, interactive demos, some master classes. We're also going to live stream that day for people who buy virtual tickets. So that day is just going to be a whole bunch of variety. And then we've got 2 other days of pre-registered classes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and 4 hours. So with all of those different formats, we're able to bring in a whole bunch of different varieties. So we've of course got Jess coming back in, and then another local talent, Robin Devine. We have Simone Fortier coming. We've got Nikita Visniak coming. We've got a couple of people from the States, Magnus and Bobby, as well as Devonna Willis. And then we've got some of our Ontario therapists traveling with us. So Cindy McNeely from Trimesters Massage Therapy Education. We've got Brad Norris. We've got Tara Nicole, Sean Michael Latimer, like just so much variety. And we have topics ranging from, sports from kinesiology taping. We've got Troy Levine coming in to talk pain. We've got, as I said, Robin. So she's doing stuff with lymphatics. We've got concussion classes in concussions and cupping. Right, Cupping Canada's coming. Like I can't even think of all of the people because we've just got so much variety. So it's super exciting.
The idea is Lollapalooza for massage therapists. That's the idea. The idea is
Nice.
a lot of bands, a lot of variety, a lot of different genres, and there's always something to do. It's never just one stage going on. There are several stages, and it's not just the stages. There are the vendors and everything else.
Yes.
And that's one thing that we really want to bring to our conference is the excitement and the craziness that happens at large events like that. That's one of the things that we believe people love about those large events is you're never really stuck in a place doing something you don't want to do, just waiting for the thing that you really want to do. We want to give a ton of variety, and that way you can do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's our goal, is to constantly really try to improve on everything that we're doing. Let's add to the experience, and let's make the experience let's make an experience for almost anyone that wants to come. In other words, you want to take really long full day classes, we got them. You want these little short bursts of 1 hour classes, we got them. You want this 3 hour deal, we got them. That type of thing. You don't want to take a class, you want to sit there and listen to a lecture or watch a demonstration or interact with the demonstration, we got it. That's the idea.
Yeah, and I mean the piece that gets added when you do that, where people are constantly moving, is networking and actually getting a chance to meet other therapists. We have a fairly isolating type of profession, and I sound like a broken record when I say that, but we do. We're all in our treatment rooms with our clients and patients, and there's not that many opportunities to get to idea share and meet with other people and network and exchange information. So we do have networking events every night, but at our Free Friday, even that, like, popping into an interactive demo and just getting to meet the other therapists that are there, or you take a 1-hour class, you see some faces, then you go into another 3-hour class, you see some new faces. And as Mark said, let's say you go into a 1-hour class, it's not really your jam. That's okay. In an hour, you get to go do something completely different.
Or you can walk out and go to something else, right?
You know what made me smile ear to ear after our fall conference that you were a part of, Jess, was we always send out a post-conference feedback survey. What did you like? What didn't you like? And majority of the complaints, that's not the right word, you'll see what I mean by that, but the majority of the not so positive feedback was like, I could not decide what to do. You guys had so many classes and you would have 2 classes running and I was interested in both and I couldn't decide what to do. And I was like, what a great problem to have.
Yeah, so it's an experience for the participant. It's an experience for the person. Like, Jess, the first time you and I met in person was we were both teaching at a conference. Yeah. And we probably got to spend a grand total of 2 seconds with each other, right? Just because of the nature of the way that the conferences were laid out. And then by the time you had some downtime and I had some downtime, I'm like, I'm tired. I got to wake up and do this again tomorrow. And you're like, so do I, right? So it gives a different type of experience. The only way I can describe it is you feel buzzed, and you feel buzzed weeks after. Like when I first experienced that buzz of like, that was such a great weekend, and then it just lasted till the next weekend, and it lasted to the next weekend. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can only imagine what all these other people are feeling if I'm feeling like this.
Yeah. One of the things, Mark, that you said quite a few times is experience, and I really appreciate that. Being a continuing education provider as well, like it's relatively easy to sell course because people either in Alberta and formerly Ontario, they need the credits, or they're vaguely interested in it and want to keep up professional, blah 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 blah. Relatively easy. But what I found that actually makes a difference is providing an experience, like something that it's like you're coming here for the experience, and as an added bonus, you're going to learn some really cool stuff too. But primary focus is let's make sure that this is an amazing experience. Again, with the emphasis of education. So, man, I value that's what you're doing, and the fact that you guys have brought in such a huge range of different instructors and options for people. One of the things I'm curious about, and something I value so much about what you're creating, is that sort of Lollapalooza, the smorgasbord, this idea of being able to bounce around and do all these different things, because that hasn't come to Alberta. Like the conferences that we do are very much based on the model of people need continuing education credits, which means they have to attend this number of hours and get a certificate with the course name and the number of hours, right? So that's a thing. And I'm curious how you guys are solving or working with that as you do come to Alberta. It's got to be a headache.
It's really not that bad. The associations in Alberta have been fabulous to work with. They've taken a look at our conference schedule. They've taken a look at all the presenters and the content that they're going to be teaching, and they're awarding their members credit to come to our conference. Right. So if you come for a day, you're going to get X amount of credits. If you come for both days, you're going to get X amount of credits. If you do the online virtual component, you'll get X amount of credits. The associations in Alberta have been fabulous to work with that way.
Yeah, they've been great.
That's great. That's awesome. I'm curious, Scott, after 17 years of doing this, which is, a long time, in my opinion, doing the same thing. I'm hard pressed if I can manage to consistently do the same job for like 5 years in a row. So 17 years, it's like, wow. But after all this time of doing it, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in how massage therapists and practitioners engage with professional development and education?
That's a great question, and it's changed so much. I think like you said earlier, it's still like in the United States, it's still on the very much on a CE 1 hour, 1 credit type of thing. But my experience from attending seminars in the United States, like say with Eric Dalton or James Wasowski, people that typically go to those classes already have enough credits for 3 years. They're not there for the credit piece. They're there to, and I see some of these guys and girls, they've been to these conferences many times. And it's like, what brings you back? This is like, I just want to be better. The better I am, the better service I can deliver. And one thing that's always in common with these people is that they're top earners because they're so focused on being better practitioners and creating a better practice for their clients. But what's changed the most is the quality of the in-person and online education is much better now than what it was when we started 17 years ago. Not that some of the some of the presenters that we had present for us 17 years ago, Eric Dalton, Whitney Lowe, James, their stuff's always very good quality. So that wasn't it. But I'm talking like the new people that we brought in and some of these people we've helped develop the education, they've come up with things that I just never thought of. So I think that the quality of the in-person and the online education are probably not my biggest surprises, but my biggest pleasures in our profession. And a lot of people don't realize it didn't so much happen in Canada, but in the United States, after say I'm trying to remember, it's like after 2014, there was a lot of issues. A tremendous amount of schools closed in the United States, and it had a huge effect on the massage industry there. And the good news is, like Canada, the United States, many of those schools have reopened. Many of those schools are accredited. The quality of the education has improved dramatically. The hours required to be a therapist, the professionalism around massage, those are the things that I've seen that dramatically improved. So I think that we're really on a better side of it. You know, when people look back in history, oh, things were way better. I don't think so. I think things are much better now and are getting better all the time. So those are the things that I would say.
There's a couple things that I think are different as well. One, I think the participant is different. I think the participant comes there to engage more so than before. They want to participate in a class, not just be taught from the person at the front of the class. They want to interact more. They want to question more. They want this to be more of like an equal dance between the participant and the presenter, not just the presenter is conducting the class, which I love that. I think that's a big change that I've seen over the past couple of years. And I've also seen a change with the presenters as well, generally. I've seen a lot of presenters kind of move away from, I'm using this time to give you some information, but I'm also using this time to sell you my stuff. I think it's moved towards a lot more, I'm using this time simply to provide value. And when the participant recognizes that this person is not selling me a bloody thing, they're just here to teach or pass on knowledge, then that's when you can make that an easy sale. You don't have to be really salesy. So I find like the overt sales tactics tend to have dropped quite a bit, but that also probably has a lot to do with the expectation of the participant not just wanting to be someone that just sits there and listens. So I think those are big changes. I think another big change is the presenter who is presenting in front of you. Because if you look back, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's only big names, well-known names within the education industry that you would see at conferences or conventions or that type of thing. When there's a lot of therapists that are great educators that, for lack of a better way of saying it, have great specialty stuff that they do. They have knowledge that some of us just don't have or have it, in not a big capacity. And there's a lot of these people that we're really happy to see them come to the forefront and say, this is what I do. This is how you can learn from this. This is something you might want to consider. I love that. It's like everyone's learning from everybody versus we're all just staring at this one person picking up what they're dropping.
You guys are both like exactly right. And it really goes with the theme we had for the conference last year. And we've kind of like run with it and carried it on where, our theme always with Massage Therapy Medium with the Canadian Massage Conference is having it be all about community. The t-shirts we had last conference, saw the back of them said connecting therapists globally. That's a huge goal for us. And like Scott said, I meet people at conferences that they don't need credits. They don't need the education. I met a whole bunch of people at this past conference in the fall that were from out of country. There was a woman there from Turks and Caicos. There were a bunch of people from Atlanta. We had people from Florida. We had some people from New York. We had people from different provinces across Canada, California. And it was really cool to see all these people there. And, I overheard some conversations of like, why are you here? Oh, I've seen this presenter online on Massage Therapy Media, and I wanted to hear them teach in person. And it's more about, like Mark said, like, being involved in this experience and connecting rather than there's a conference happening. I need some education. Like, people get excited to come to the conferences now. So, as Scott said, like, he meets people in conferences in the US that they don't need credits. They're well beyond their credits, but they're like, this is cool. I'm going to get to meet all of these cool people. And, like both of the guys have said, we now have presenters that maybe nobody would have ever heard of, but they're just so great. Like Scott said, they're coming up with things that were like, what? Like, this person is amazing. And we're so happy to put them in front of therapists and actually, not to toot our own horn more than we already have been, but we connected 3 really brilliant educators this past fall.
And 2 of them have never really taught a lot
Two
before.
of them have not. They're brand new at teaching. One of them, he's a veteran, but 2 of them have never taught. And the 3 of them have developed a course together and have actually partnered with Carden Rehab and some other big names. And they are now going to be teaching a course. And they met at our conference. And, we kind of gave a couple of them their first chance to stand on stage in front of people and teach. And it was really great to see. Like, that's why we keep doing these conferences, because that's really cool.
So cool. I come from a trades background, and one of the things I always found interesting is trades are hard, and you have to be good at them, and you have to be very proficient at them. And I view massage therapy or acupuncture, or pretty much any wellness practitioner, kind of in the same way. We're learning a trade. But the strange thing is you go through school and then you get out and then you're all on your own, right? You've got nobody to actually show you different ways of doing things. And when I was in the trades, I was endlessly picking up better, more efficient, cooler ways of doing things by going to a different job site and there's different foreman, or there's just some guy who's his first year carpenter, whatever it might be. But just by being exposed to all these different other trades, even if I was doing electrical and I'd be working with a plumber, I would learn something in order to be much better at my trade. And that's something that is unfortunately, as you said earlier, Amanda, lacking in our industries because we're pretty solitary. So the fact that you've created an environment where it really sounds like the instructors are technically instructors, their job is to present the content and material, but the mentality and sort of the vibe is a lot more like, yeah, I might be the one at the front of the room and I might be the one talking right now, but who's to say that next conference you're not going to be the one up here? So let's have this more interactive, I'm going to teach you, you're going to teach me sort of vibe. I really dig that. That's so cool.
Those are my favorite moments when I walk into a lecture hall or a classroom and I see a bunch of other presenters sitting in someone else's class.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a cool moment right there. That is a cool moment.
Yeah. It is. And the cool thing too is that we were talking about credits from Alberta and from across Canada, but our conference is actually NCB-TMB approved, so our American friends can come up. And the other thing is we're going to have a great trade show there too. So that's one of the things that I always try and stress when people come to the conference, because we get exposed to some new products and services and different things that we haven't seen before, like we were talking earlier. And it's a great place. And we have some really fun stuff planned for our trade show. We're going to have demos going right in the trade show. So like Mark said, there's going to be stuff going on all the time. You're not going to be bored. And then we love running fun activities too. So every day at the end of the day, we're going to have a little cocktail reception. So everybody can get together and network a little bit. And it's going to be fun. And like we're all very excited for the opportunity to be in Calgary.
One of the things I was just thinking about as you were describing that is when I think of again all the things that all of you do, and then I think of right before this call, both Amanda and you, Scott, you were just coming out of session, just coming out of clients. How does that balance work for you? Sort of having this huge project, which is, yes, in the field of massage therapy and wellness, but quite frankly requires a huge amount of other skills. Like, an unbelievable amount of time and energy that goes into not being in the clinic room. How do you balance these things and maintain practice, or do you want to, right? Like how does that work for you all?
Well,
Well, if you go behind Amanda, right behind Amanda is her treatment room. So kind of the same thing with me. Down the hall from my office is my treatment room. We kind of just switch hats, but I'll let
Yeah.
Amanda finish it.
yeah, I mean, Scott's right. My treatment room is right next door, right behind this wall. But I was going to say something a little deeper in that
Wow.
it took us a few years to probably hit not a few years, but at least the first year that we officially ran a conference with Scott and Monica as the four of us were a team was that first in-person show in the fall of 2022. Okay. Since then, we've done spring of 23, fall of 23. We're now moving into spring of 24. But that first show, when we were planning it, there was a lot of overwhelm, a lot of like, I've never done this before. How does this happen? I mean, I learned so much by listening and watching Scott and Monica. But after that first conference, I really started to see whose strengths were whose, like who really can be responsible for certain things and who can be responsible and, where I fit into that. And I think the four of us have really hit a stride where like we know who's going to be handling what. We know when we need to communicate about things. We all really can trust each other and rely on each other. Like, maybe 3 hours ago, Scott called asking some questions about a contract and was like, okay, cool. Sounds like we need to have a phone call for this person. When can you do it? I look at my calendar. I'm like, Wednesday, this time. And, we just get things done. Everything. We all make decisions really fast. I think that's also helpful. There's not a lot of hemming and hawing. It's, are we going to do this? Or are we not going to do this? Do we like this? Do we not like this? How about this presenter? Do we like this proposal? And we just do it. And yeah, I think that's how, like Scott said, we just kind of have to switch hats. So I was literally making up my table. Scott was on the phone with Mark, and I heard Mark say, Amanda, Scott needs to talk to you. I'm like, he's going to have to do it in my treatment room. And Mark walked over with the phone and, followed me around the table as I made up the table so I could talk to Scott about this contract
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
And, you just make it
what
happen.
my role is.
Yeah.
Phone holder.
Phone holder.
Holder.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all really have our strengths. It's unfortunately Monica couldn't be here tonight because one of the things honestly, without that woman, we probably would have no idea where our money was going. But she handles the
We'd
event.
have no trade show.
We'd have no trade show. I mean,
That's it.
she handles all the sponsorships. She does all of our accounting and bookkeeping, which I mean, thank God because I cannot. But she's also the person who handles the event platform. Make sure we have all the features we need, and so like behind the scenes, that woman is working 100% of the time. So if somebody emails me and says, hey, I'm having trouble registering, and if I can't figure it out in that second, like I said, I know I can like send a quick text to Monica. Can you connect with this person? They're trying to register. They're having problems with the event platform, and she'll have it figured out in seconds.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to trust the people you work with. I used to be a solo act for such a long time,
Yeah.
as you probably kind of get, Jess. And being a solo act, sometimes you end up being a little bit of a control freak, where you want you want your hands in a little bit of everything, and yours is the right way to make it go. And I must say, working with these three other cats, I'd never thought I'd reach the day of like, okay, I don't even need to take a look at what you're doing. I fully trust whatever's going on there. You just tell me the end results and we're good to rock and roll. So I love the little delegations that we have going on, but I would have never pictured myself to be so trusting of teammates like this outside of like being on a sports team. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird goal for me. It's a fun adventure, but it's also tripping me out every once in a while.
I mean, what I appreciate about all of that too is I talk to a lot of practitioners who they love what they do. They love being in the treatment room, but they don't love doing it all the time, right? I'm sure you've encountered a lot of people like that too. It's like they're physically can't do it. They can't see the same number of people that they either require to pay bills or they feel they need to, or they just don't want to spend 4 hours or 5 hours or however many hours they're working a day in the treatment room. So I do really appreciate how you've all seemed to find a way to, maintain practice in some capacity or another, but simultaneously develop a business and develop something outside of the treatment room. And I personally encourage most practitioners to do that. I think it makes one a better practitioner.
I
That's a good.
actually I went inactive. This is my second year being inactive,
Mhm.
and
Third?
one of the no, this is my second, I think. Yeah, this is my second year being
Huh.
inactive.
I
Okay.
thought it was the
And,
third.
and one of the reasons why I decided to go inactive, like I'm big on self awareness, and I
Mhm.
recognized I'm that person you're describing. I I don't enjoy being in the treatment room anymore. I used
Yeah.
to, and my flavor for that slowly started slipping. And I feel like it would be really unfair to a patient or client for me to just go through the motions, just to go through the hour, just to swipe your card, because this is
Mhm.
just my job. And so I made a conscious decision to say, I need to put this on hold. And it so happens that all this other stuff was going on. But that's something for me where I'm really cool to recognize when things aren't going for me anymore, and
Yeah.
then this is when I got to pull the trigger and kind of walk away. So I've been inactive for a little bit as an RMT. My RKIN is still active. I still do that every once in a while, but for
Mhm.
the most part, I was like, I'm not hot on the treatment anymore, and I'm jealous
Yeah.
as hell when I see all these people come in to take courses or at the conference and they're fired up about treatment. They actually get me fired up about treatment, and that's something that I didn't think would happen to me again, and it
Mhm.
happens all the time now. So
That's a
No, I
big
get that
helpful
big time.
piece though.
Yeah.
Mark wanting to be outside of the treatment room. So as you can probably guess, Jess, he handles a lot of the behind the scenes work. Like, all of the online stuff we do, he's the guy that's editing. When we record podcasts, he's doing all the editing. He's the one posting to our social platforms constantly. I mean, Scott does some social media as well, but I mean, Mark is
Yeah.
constant with the socials and the editing and just making sure that the website is constantly being updated and functioning and getting traction, because the rest of us, we do still have a
mhm.
practice. I'm super part-time. I love my practice time actually,
Mm.
because it's the only time I feel like, just this is going to sound so silly, but I feel like just a regular old Joe Schmo, like going in to do some work. Like when we're doing the conference stuff and the podcasting, like even how when you came on, Jess, and you thanked us at the beginning, and there's a part of me that like still doesn't believe like I'm on this team doing all of these really big things. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm just Amanda, the little RMT.
Well,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the words that we're doing something that's kind of big like that, but I don't feel like it is. I just feel
Mhm.
like we're creative. This industry allows us to go in these avenues and still
Yeah.
be in this industry, and I'm thankful for it because I need that creative outlet, and I need this team that allows me to have this creative outlet, and allows me to foster in this environment.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's actually one of the workshops I put on, and it's not that popular, surprisingly, but it's for practitioners who kind of feel like you did, Mark, who are just kind of like, I'm doing this, but the oomph is gone, the zest is
yeah,
gone. Like, what do I do? I kind of want to be in this field still. Like, I like the
Mm.
idea, and that's it. The idea that feels good, but then the actual practice, getting into the treatment room, is just
Yeah.
blah. And I totally
yeah,
agree with what you're saying, that there's like a bit of an ethical responsibility to really tune in to that alignment
yeah.
and be like, if this doesn't feel in alignment for me, I can pretty much guarantee you the clients are going to be feeling that too when you walk into the room and you're like, I don't really want to be here.
And
So that,
not
that
only
takes
that,
some guts. Yeah.
you sound
Yeah.
like a jerk if you're like, I'm a massage therapist that doesn't want to massage people. You know what I
Mhm,
mean?
mhm.
You really sound like a
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, you
jerk.
can't be that guy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't be
I
that
really
guy,
don't
yeah.
like doing this. I'm supposed
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
here helping you, and I really don't want to do this. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you just sound like a jerk.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So what's kind of like down the pipeline, right? Like you guys obviously have a ton of stuff on the go in the present. I'm sure you've got to the end of this year already vaguely figured out. But what's sort of the vision of
Dude, we're
what
in
this turns into?
2025 already.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So let's go 2029. Let's go 2035. But in like you can, as far out as the vision exists for you all, what is it?
What do you got, Scott?
I know Scott looks like he's deep in thought. I
Yeah.
want to hear
No,
what
I'm
he
just
has to
thinking.
say.
I don't know. We we would like to run more in-person events, and as we're getting together and like we're doing a really great job together, and we're getting better, and we'd like to do more, and we're kind of building towards that. To me, that excites me to be able to do more in-person events for a lot of different reasons. Being able to pick places that we want to be at and take our conference there and enjoy our time there. And we are a group that likes to have fun, like we are. Like we try and plan stuff around enjoying what we're doing, because if you're working for yourself and you're not enjoying what you're doing, you got to really, like that course you're talking about that you teach, you got to take a step back and say, like, I'm not having any fun. Like, why am I not having fun? But I'm having a ball right now. I'm excited. I like to be, I like the concept of being stressed about what we're going to do. Like, stress is good. Some stress is good, like it keeps you thinking, like, what do we do next? How can we improve? And that to me helps me get out of bed in the morning and keeps me going. And we were just going back into the treatment room for 1 second. Why I still like treating is, one, I never have my phone and my computer in there. And I really love that time being disconnected and being present, because I find that my brain's everywhere all the time. I'm looking at my phone or watching TV, or even when you're with other people. But in the treatment room, it's hard to do that. You're focused on that time. And so that's what still gives me the satisfaction of doing it. Working twice as much as usual, like I did this Christmas, didn't give me a lot of satisfaction. It's like, you know what I mean? But my regular treatment hours in the clinic, I still love it. I still like to, for all those years I ran the conferences, even though I did continue education, it was kind of, I really wasn't immersed in it. So maybe over the last 3-4 years, I've started to do some more immersing myself into taking more continuing education. This is going to be my 32nd year as an RMT. And I feel like I'm still learning stuff all the time. It's like, how didn't I know that? Now I can do that, or I can bring that to my treatment. So that's exciting. Now, there is some very exciting news we're not quite ready to announce yet, Jess, but I'm just saying
teaser.
We are going to enter we are going to, thanks to these guys, we were able to bring back the Canadian Massage Conference in person, and that's our goal, to bring back the American Massage Conference too. So that is the next project that we're working on, and we got more information coming about that. Those guys won't let me talk about it because we're not ready yet, but we're so close.
I didn't know how much you were going to say about that, but yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback a little bit on that. Where do we see ourselves in 5-10 years? Mark just happened to say one day, we were all sitting together and we were talking about, okay, this is where we're going to be for this year. This is where we're going to be in the spring. This is where we're going to be in the fall. And Mark said, ultimately, guys, let's run 4 conferences a year. And initially, when it hit my ears, I was like, what? But then I looked around the table, Scott, Monica, and everyone kind of like at the same time, we all kind of simultaneously went, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. We can do that. I mean, not next year, but if we're talking, 5-10 years, maybe, yeah, we're just going to make these bigger and better, as Scott said. And we have been scouting new locations, and we did recently go somewhere. The 4 of us took a little mini vacay, which, by the way, that is one of the major perks of doing what we do.
Yeah.
We have an excuse to just leave for 3-4 days and go on location somewhere, because we're scouting out conference centers.
Yeah, totally.
So we spent a few days somewhere not here in Toronto, and we found a great location to run a conference. And so that's what we're looking at now, is just getting more, meeting new presenters, meeting new educators. Mark's already connected with like new people that have also never taught before, but they have great material. And we started them off with, let's do some videos for Massage Therapy Media just to get a flavor for it. So, they recorded some cool content. We've put it up on our platform. So for people who have premium memberships, they're already seeing their stuff. And then we're going to bring them out into the live conferences.
Yes.
Nice. I mean, it sounds like pretty big plans, and I'm very curious and excited to see what this teaser turns into. So, As we're kind of getting close to an hour, and that's usually where I like to wrap things up. But I would love to get all three of your individually. I mean, don't all speak at once unless you want to. Answer to a question that I ask virtually everybody, and it's kind of just an ongoing, I guess, call it a research project of mine. So my curiosity is, in each of your own opinions, what do you think really makes a practitioner successful?
We're all staring at each other. Who's going to go first?
You
Not
can
me.
go first.
Well, my thought has always been the same because when I got really busy years back running these conferences, it really distracted from my practice. And I knew that was going to happen. I was doing less and less practice, more and more running conferences. But now the time that I designate to be treating, I always kind of say the same thing to younger practitioners or anybody that wants to listen. First and foremost, I have 3 or 4 rules. One, never be late. Always be on time, which means be early for your wherever you're working. Never cancel or reschedule a client unless it's an absolute emergency, because their time is worth money. Their time is important to them. Even though we have stuff going on, and the younger practitioners I talk to, the other part. Probably the most important thing in today's market to be successful is to do a really great initial assessment and a continuing assessment process with your clients, and a treatment plan. Have a treatment plan for your regular client. Have them know that they're coming in once a week. I mean, or I have some clients once a week, but just for short periods of time, but usually once a month, once every 6 weeks. And that will fill your practice. That will fill your practice. Your clients will tell, and not that you shouldn't market and all the rest of it, but if you're a good practitioner, you run a good practice, you're going to be full in no time. So those things, don't cancel appointments, don't be late, and be very focused with your client, with your assessment and their treatment plan. And I think that will make you a very successful practitioner.
Nice.
I like your answer,
Thank you.
Scott.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to steal something Mark said earlier. I think self-awareness is a huge part of being a successful practitioner, knowing the type of therapist you want to be, the type of practice you want to have, and having that as sort of your voice, your branding out into the world, because then you're going to attract the ideal clients for you. You can build a practice that you truly love being in. Then you're not going to be Mark. You're not going to be the guy that says, I don't want to be in treatment, because you're getting clients who align with you, and they are for you. And another part of the self-awareness is knowing when this is not a client for me, I should refer out, or this is beyond my skill set, let me send you to somebody better. Or even today, actually, I do this often, but I had a client that I said, I think the piece missing here is I want to send you to a pelvic floor physio. And she had never heard about it, so we just talked about it, what it is. And I said, I know some great people. You can obviously do some research, go to your own people, but let me send you some names of some pelvic floor physios. And I think that's the missing piece in what we're doing together. And I think just really knowing what kind of therapist you want to be, what your skill set is, it also directs your continuing education, especially now that we're competence-based, right? Where am I lacking? What do I need to do to serve the people I want to serve?
Beautiful.
Sorry, Mark.
Beautiful.
No, you guys got good answers. My answer is going to sound like a cop-out answer, but it's the only way that I can answer it. Is you have to be able to first define success for you, right? I don't know what success is for Scott. I don't know what success as a massage therapist means for Amanda. So you first have to figure out, what does that mean? Does that mean I want a full practice and lots of money? Does that mean I want to work with this type of clientele? Like, what is that? Does that mean I want to work in this type of practice setting? First, you got to figure out what defines success for you, and then reverse engineer that whole thing. Right. So I can't, I'd love to be able to just drop a generic, but I can't. Well, that was pretty generic, but I can't just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think between the three of your answers, it was a damn comprehensive description of success in the wellness industry. So thank you. Yeah.
Right on.
So before we wrap things up, anything else to add about what's coming up with the conference? I mean, a lot of the people listening are from Alberta, in Calgary in specific. So anything else you want to just add to say that people should know?
Yes, it's going to be a good time. Like Scott
Mhm.
said, we're people that like to have fun. Education is, our top priority at these conferences, of course, but we're looking at a way to make education fun and exciting and provide you with all the networking opportunities imaginable. And Massage Therapy Media being the parent company means, we're also going to have a whole bunch of other things as well. We run hybrid events, so there's going to be some digital stuff. Some of the presentations that are at the conference will then live on our platform that you can, go back if you see something really cool, or maybe you missed something because you were doing something else cool. Well, you might be able to see it again. So to get information about the conference, you just have to go to massagetherapymedia.com/conferences. You'll see our full lineup of people because I forgot so many of them, and the different options available for joining us for that weekend, June 6, 7, 8, 9. Be there.
And we're
Yes.
always looking for presenters. We
Always.
always are looking for someone that has something that they want to present, something that they want to teach, something that they think is valuable. We're always looking to expand this circus that we got going on, and that includes
Beauty.
you, sir. Anytime you want to be on the circus train and travel,
I
this is a
appreciate
formal
that.
invite for you to join the circus.
You are
Thank you.
most
It is a lot
welcome,
of fun.
Jess.
Thank you very kindly, and it's a lot of fun. You guys have put on a pretty amazing circus last time I was there, so wonderful. Well, with that, again, thank you all very much. This has been a great conversation. I always enjoy chatting with you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
All
you.
Have a
right,
great
have a good
night.
night.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers. Take care.